A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Surah Al-KAHF study of Ayat 71 to 78. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. فانطلق حتى إذا ركب في السفينة خرقها قال أخرقتها لتغرق أهلها لقد جئت شيئا إمرا. So Allah Ta'ala says that the two of them, they went on their way. فانطلق. But we know from the story there were three people. There was Musa alayhi salam, there was Khidr alayhi salam, and there was that young man accompanying Musa alayhi salam, about which Allah Ta'ala has mentioned in the start and called him Lifatah. He was a young man. Now this shows that at this point when Musa alayhi salam is being taught by Khidr alayhi salam, he has excused his student. And again, this emphasizes that Yusha bin Nun, the young man with Musa alayhi salam, was not his servant. If it would have been his servant, he would have kept him with him, because a servant is supposed to be with you and serve you. Yet he lets him go, because Yusha bin Nun is a student of Musa alayhi salam, and now Musa alayhi salam is going to take lessons. It's time for him to study. So there's no point of having a student with him whom he cannot teach. He needs to learn first and then come back and teach him. So the two of them are there now, Musa alayhi salam and Khidr alayhi salam. فانطلق, the two of them go on their way. حتى إذا ركب في السفينة خرقها, till they reach on a boat, and when they disembark from the boat, he makes a hole in it. قال, said Musa alayhi salam, أخرقتها لتغرق أهلها, have you made a hole in it in order to drown the people who may be traveling in it? Like, we have already reached, and now other people are going to travel in it. It's a commercial boat. So you've made a hole in it so people can drown in it. لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا إِمْرًا. Indeed, you have done a grievous thing. Now, why did Musa alayhi salam say that? Well, firstly, it's a shock for Musa alayhi salam, because he's not expecting this kind of a lesson. He doesn't know the lessons are going to be so practical and so intense. Although Khidr alayhi salam has warned him when they sat in the boat and the bird put its beak in the water, drank some water, and he said, look, our capacity is very limited. The information and knowledge which Allah has created is too much. We can't encompass it. Yet when he makes this hole in the boat, in a boat which has taken them aboard, and the people knew Khidr alayhi salam, they acknowledged him, and he asked them to ferry him across the water, and they did not charge him. So Musa alayhi salam is seeing injustice. These are people who let us aboard, did not charge us, and now he's making a hole in it. When we are done with our journey, we've reached the other part, now he's making a hole, so anyone else who comes in it will drown. Now, there's a deep psychological impact of Bani Israel, that they are being mistreated by Fir'aun. They are the good people. They believe in Allah. They do the good deeds, like this boatman. He's done a good deed. The sailor has done a good deed, taken someone over, not charged them, done good to them. And Bani Israel, they had been good to the people of Egypt. When Yusuf alayhi salam came the first time, he protected them from a famine for 7 years. He had so much grains stored that they not only lasted for the people of Egypt, people from Palestine came to buy that grain and to take that grain and survive. And even today there's a lake in Egypt which is known as the Lake of Yusuf, and it is said that it was a lake he made at that time before the famine, the 7 years of good harvest, and with that lake he stored water and irrigated the land during the 7 years of poor harvest and drought. So after all the good Bani Israel has done, the people of Fir'aun, the Egyptians, had enslaved them. And that injustice is in the back of mind of Musa alayhi salam. So Musa alayhi salam objects to it. And he says, why have you done this? And Khidr alayhi salam says, قَالَ أَلَمَّ قُلْ إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. He replied, did I not tell you that you shall never be able to have patience with me? And Musa alayhi salam realizes his promise that he won't ask any questions. He says, قَالَ لَا تُؤَخِذْنِي بِمَا نَسِيتُ وَلَا تُرْهِقْنِي مِنْ أَمْرِي أُسْرًا. Moses said, please don't take me to task for me having forgotten this, and please don't be harsh on me on this account of what I have done. So please forgive me. He pleads that he has forgotten and his memory did not serve him right, so he forgot he was not supposed to ask questions. So he says, please forgive me. And Khidr alayhi salam forgives him. فَانْطَلَقَ, and the two of them, they go on. حَتَّى إِذَا لَقِيَ غُلَامًا فَقَتَلَهُ, when they meet a young man, and Khidr, he killed him. قال, Musa alayhi salam said, أَقَتَلْتَ نَفْسًا زَكِيَّةً بِغَيْرِ نَفْسٍ لَقَدْ جِئْتَ شَيْئًا نُكْرًا. أَقَتَلْتَ نَفْسًا زَكِيَّةً, have you just slain an innocent human being? بِغَيْرِ نَفْسٍ, without him taking another man's life. That young boy hasn't killed anyone. This is capital punishment. Capital punishment is only for taking someone else's life. Indeed, you have done a terrible thing. And now Musa alayhi salam again is shocked by what Khidr alayhi salam did. Of course, anyone would be shocked. Anyone would see that a young child is there and another person comes and kills him. You would be shocked. But the shock is even more intense for Musa alayhi salam for two reasons. Number one, we have to remember what was the Pharaoh doing the people of Bani Israel? Killing young babies, male babies. And they were innocent. He was just killing them and leaving the girls to survive. And Musa alayhi salam himself had come very close to that fate, and Allah had saved him and raised him in the palace of the Pharaoh. And then, secondly, there was a time when Musa alayhi salam saw two people fighting. One was from Bani Israel, one was from the Egyptians. And in support of the person of Bani Israel, he went to help him, and he hit the Egyptian person, and he hit him so hard that he died. So he had committed manslaughter, and he had to run away from Egypt, and he had to go and live in Madian with Shuaib alayhi salam for 10 years and then come back. So all of that is affecting his psychology. He is very sensitive about murder of innocent people. Also because he himself, by mistake, has taken a person's life. So in life, when we have made a mistake or we've had an experience which is very close to our heart, we have a personal experience, we become very sensitive to those incidences in future, especially if they happen to someone else. We can very easily relate to it. So Musa alayhi salam is relating to it very intensely, and he can't hold back. And he said, why did you kill an innocent person? So people who survived genocide, like the Jewish community who survived Holocaust, like the Bosnian Muslims who survived the genocide, if you go to them and see them and talk to them, they are very sensitive about genocide happening anywhere else in the world. And the very first genocide recorded in history is against the Israelites by the Pharaoh when he kills their young children. So when Musa alayhi salam says that, then Khidr alayhi salam says, قَالَ أَلَمَّ قُلْ لَكَ إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. Did I not tell you that you will never be able to have patience with me? So Musa alayhi salam realizes that he was not supposed to ask questions, and all this that Khidr alayhi salam is doing is directly orders from Allah. He certainly remembers, and he says, قَالَ إِن سَأَلْتُكَ عَنْ شَيْءٍ بَعْدَهَا فَلَا تُصَاحِبْنِي. If I ask questions about anything after this, بَعْدَهَا فَلَا تُصَاحِبْنِي, then do not let me accompany you. قَدْ بَلَغْتَ مِن لَدُنِّي عُذْرًا. You've heard enough excuses from me. First I made an excuse that I had forgotten. Now I can't make the same excuse again. I'm embarrassed. You heard enough of excuses from me. If I do it again, then do not accompany me. فَانْطَلَقَ. So the two of them, they went on. حَتَّى إِذَا أَتِيَ أَهْلَ قَرْيَةٍ اسْتَطْعَمَ أَهْلَهَا. Till they reach a town and they ask the people of that town for food. فَأَبُوا أَن يُضَيِّفُوهُمَا. And they refuse all hospitality to them. Not only do they refuse food, they don't even want to give them shelter, they don't even want to say hello to them, they don't want to give a place for them to sit. فَأَبُوا أَن يُضَيِّفُوهُمَا فَوَجَدَ فِيهَا جِدَارًا. And there they saw a wall. In that town, village, they saw a wall which was about to topple. يُرِيدُ أَن يَنْقَضَّ فَأَقَامَهُ. So it was about to topple, about to fall down, and Khidr, he made it straight, he rebuilt it. فَأَقَامَهُ means only one person did it. He did not ask Musa alayhi salam to do it. And I think Musa alayhi salam might not even have offered his help because he's too afraid now to interrupt or say anything. So Khidr alayhi salam, he builds the wall. And once he's built the wall, fixed it, and they're both hungry, and probably Musa alayhi salam is feeling a little bit impatient, and he says, قَالَ, Musa alayhi salam says, لَوْ شِئْتَ لَاتَّخَذْتَ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا. If you would have wished, if you would have wanted, you could have obtained some payment for it. Now, again, this third event, why is Musa alayhi salam so sensitive about this issue? Now, you see, all three issues Allah Ta'ala is bringing about to Musa and making them happen around him are hitting very close to home. It is evoking memories from the past. He can relate to them very well. What do Bani Israel do in Egypt? They are slaves. What do the people of Egypt and Pharaoh do to Bani Israel? They pay them nothing. A slave works without payment. And he sees the same thing happening, and they mistreat them. So this town people, they're mistreating. They're not even giving any hospitality, let apart food. And Khidr is doing work for them. So Musa alayhi salam feels uncomfortable because he's seen this happen all his life. That they do free work as slaves for Pharaoh, and they're mistreated, and their children are killed, and all their good work and hard work goes unappreciated. And when he says that, then Khidr alayhi salam says to him, قَالَ هَذَا فِرَاقُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنِكَ. This is the parting between you and me. سَأُنَبِّئُكَ بِتَعْوِيلٍ مَا لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ عَلَيْهِ صَبْرًا. So now I shall let you know the real meaning of all those things that you were unable to bear with patience. So now Khidr alayhi salam is going to explain to Musa alayhi salam how it all happened and why it happened. But before we move on to this discussion, we have to reflect on these three events. In life, we human beings get disturbed by many things, but the things which really, really perturb us and which really trouble us are the things which we have personally experienced in the past and which we can relate to. So if we see some wrong being done to a person, we feel upset. But if the same wrong or similar situation had occurred to us in the past, individually or collectively, or to a member of the family, we get more emotionally involved. There's empathy, and you put yourself in that person's shoes and you relate to it. And that pain, it brings back your own pain. And it could be the individual pain or it could be the collective pain. And it brings back your own mistakes and experiences from the past. And that is where we start losing patience. And that's where we start losing the whole picture. We don't take all things into account and we rush into making decisions. And we get upset and we get anxious. And Allah Ta'ala has tested Musa alayhi salam with all these three things. He has seen a good person, the sailor, who's apparently being wronged. He's seen an innocent boy who's been killed. And he's seen ungrateful people like the Pharaoh who are getting advantage. They have a wall in the town which is about to topple, and the wall is being fixed for what kind of people? People who would not even extend their hospitality to two strangers who've come into town. So in life, it's our psychology and it's our nature that we get more upset by incidences which we can experience or relate to and remember happening to us. And the message from Allah is that you should not lose your emotions, you should not lose your patience, and you should persevere in events like these, which are very disturbing. So it doesn't say that you shouldn't think they're wrong. You do think they're wrong, but you shouldn't react to them immediately. You have to stop. You have to control your reaction. You have to give it time before you can draw conclusions. And you only draw conclusions when you have all the facts available. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll discuss the explanation which Khidr alayhi salam gives to Musa alayhi salam about these events, how they happened and why they happened. Jazakallah khair. Please remember everyone in your prayers.